Saturday I got stuck for about 7.5, 8 hours going home.
Sometimes Mother Nature wins, and in this case, Mother Nature won.
All day, I love the snow. I just sat and watched it all day yesterday and kind of got nothing done. So this is fun for me. I mean, we're cool.
You heard it tonight. Frustration on the road. Can you believe it? 7.5 hours stuck in traffic, but also fun in the snow. It's the aftermath of a record-breaking winter storm that blew past expectations and froze the Rose City right in place. Basically, every major road around the metro region came to a standstill as the snow hit last night. And that left drivers stranded for hours and forced many to abandon their cars. The good news tonight, the storm is over and we won't see any new snow accumulation in the region for now.
Yeah, the bad news, though, the temperatures are really struggling to get above freezing, so much of the snow that we do have will likely stick around for a little while. Because of that, some local school districts have started canceling classes already for tomorrow, so we can list a few for you. Portland Public Schools, Vancouver Public Schools, Battleground Public Schools, and the Washougal School District, also the Gresham Barlow School District. They have all announced that they will be closed on Friday. Here's a list here. Portland Community College says that all in-person classes will be canceled. And, you know, the closure list is just going to grow. So we are keeping track of all of this at kgw.com.
Also on closures, I-205 South on the Glen Jackson Bridge closed this afternoon. A headache for a lot of people. Crews were trying to clear the road. It has now reopened, and that is a sign of progress in getting Portland's roads back to normal tonight. We have full team coverage around the city and the region with Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino also in our weather center.
Let's begin though with Kyle Aboshi, who joins us near I-405. Good evening, Kyle.
Good evening. You know, the good news is freeways are improving in some places. There definitely are some trouble spots, but here behind me, the pavement is looking better. You can see some of the crews down there working, including tow trucks. We've seen road crews out today and overnight using salt, de-icer, sand, and plows to clear things up. But many complain, listen, it's a little too late.
Stalled cars and a long line of semis. Many freeways were still backed up one day after heavy snowfall created chaos around the Portland-Vancouver area. One of the biggest trouble spots was the I-5 ramp to I-84 East near the Lloyd District. A pair of semis were wedged together on this narrow, icy ramp. Traffic couldn't get by all night.
What's ultimately the issue here?
Nobody was prepared for it.
And the backup was compounded by drivers who abandoned their cars.
It's not one thing, it's all others in there with it. One right after the next.
The perfect storm, as they say.
Yeah, perfect storm.
But for many, the biggest issue was ODOT.
You know, in different states, they're a little bit more coordinated.
They argue the state agency responsible for Oregon highways was slow to respond, leaving drivers stranded for hours and hours.
If there was anybody on I-5, 84, or 205 that had any kind of life-threatening emergency, they probably would have died. There was no getting through that traffic at all.
What do you say to those folks? Could ODOT have done better?
We were hoping to do better than we did on that. We are down in staff right now. We can't get the roads cleared as quickly as we hope to because we're not at full staff.
ODOT spokesperson Don Hamilton explained the storm moved fast and crews couldn't clear freeways that were already clogged with stalled cars and semis.
Mother Nature hits us hard sometimes, and we go with the tools as best we can, and sometimes Mother Nature wins, and in this case, Mother Nature won.
ODOT talked about those staffing issues, so they brought in additional resources, including equipment and manpower from Central Oregon to help out. Back to you.
Thank you, Kyle. And this is a live look now from Drive 8 on I-205. Our photojournalist is checking out the roads, both major and the side streets for us, many of which, as you can see, and as you probably know if you've been out there, are still covered in ice and snow. Mike Benner is in Southwest Portland with the latest on the cleanup effort.
We're at Southwest 21st and Salmon. We just watched several men get an SUV and trailer out of here. You'll notice the abandoned FedEx truck, the school bus, other vehicles as well. Scenes like this playing out all over Portland.
At Northeast 41st and Wisteria, you'll find a great hill for sledding, but not for driving. We found several abandoned cars, even 2 Ridwell vans and a TriMet bus. And the driver of this pickup truck got stuck taking this guy to retrieve his car that he abandoned Wednesday night.
And I had to leave my car. Fortunately, it was in somebody's driveway. Hope they don't tow it, but
under these circumstances, I hope that they understand.
Eric Zavala tells us he is frustrated, just as I'm sure the drivers of all of these abandoned cars on West Burnside would tell us. In fact, one did. Sky Frome says she was driving home from work when the storm hit. She ditched her car and walked. She says not because of her own shortcomings.
I would say it was frustrating trying to drive around people who were just deciding to stop in the middle of the road instead of trying to move to the side.
All right, here's another snapshot of what's happening in Portland. You'll notice the TriMet bus behind me. It's on the on-ramp from Everett to the Steel Bridge. It can't go anywhere, and here's why. There is a semi that is stuck right here, likely for hours. Next to the cab, you've got a sedan covered in snow. It hasn't moved in hours. And ahead of that, another truck. What a mess.
We had hoped to ask PBOT officials about the mess, but nobody got back to us for an interview. A spokesperson for the agency did appear on our morning show, and here's what he had to say about the storm and cleanup.
So just getting to the yard here to get in a snowplow has been a challenge for folks. So it is really just challenging conditions out there. It's going to take us a while to get out of this.
In all likelihood, it will, but PBOT is making some progress. This is North Interstate, and it's passable. A far cry from the scene at Northeast 41st and Wisteria, where Eric Zavala is preparing for life without a car.
I probably won't see it till Monday, maybe, if that.
The city commissioner who oversees PBOT is Mingus Mapps, and he released a statement calling the storm historical. He says that PBOT deployed plows, de-icers, and other vehicles with the focus being the main arterials and emergency routes. He says while abandoned vehicles will be subject to tow and tow fees, he's asking PBOT not to issue fines for abandoned vehicles. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
We saw in that story, Mike mentioned a TriMet bus that got stuck. Well, that was certainly not the only one. In fact, TriMet says more than 100 buses got stuck in this storm and also saw a lot of disruptions to MAX lines. Cale Williams has an update on how things are going today. Cale.
That's right. Well, things are certainly better than they were yesterday, but as Mike was just telling you, we are definitely not out of the woods yet. I'm down here on Southwest Columbia, and just about an hour ago, there were two buses that had been stuck side by side for almost 24 hours. And those were just two of the roughly 100 buses that got stranded on Portland streets as the storm blew in. I talked to Jorge Gutierrez, who said he waited for a bus downtown last night for more than an hour before deciding to walk the 20 blocks to his house.
And yesterday was hell because all the city was like a stop for this.
Now, I also spoke to TriMet spokesman Tyler Graff earlier today, and he told me that almost all of their buses do have drop-down chains. But given the chaos that developed on the streets last night, it wasn't safe to deploy them, and many buses just got stuck behind other drivers who couldn't move.
Our buses use the same roads as every other auto out there, and it was just gridlock.
Now, things have gotten back to something closer to normal today, but Graff did tell me that there are residual delays. Some buses are running slower than normal, and that 18 routes had been temporarily suspended. Streets are still a bit of a mess out here. What was snow earlier turned to slush and will soon turn to ice as the sun goes down. So drivers were told to avoid driving if they can. Riders were told to check out TriMet.org to get real-time schedules for buses and trains. Back to you in the studio.
It has been a mess out there for everyone. Thank you, Cale.